What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a bonus episode of Stay Hot, featuring the best dressed cast of all time. Myself, Blaiden Kirk, and my two favorite co-hosts, Theo and Matthew Spawnhour. How are you guys today?
I'm wonderful. We recorded an episode earlier today. I'm about to say.
We all put on new outfits to hide the fact that this was recorded on the same day. Because, I feel like if an episode comes out on a different day, it's more fun.
And then Theo
you ruined it. 15 seconds into the episode. All right, he's just gonna go. Okay.
To be fair, I probably would have said the same thing.
So I was the only one committed to the ruse.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm not gonna let Theo take the fall for that. I would have done the same thing. But yeah, we were arguing about who's the best dressed.
Right now.
No. So here's what happened, right? So we're all changing. So I step off screen. I changed into a new outfit, right? Theo does the same. Great. And then Blaine's like, oh, okay, we're all dressing really crazy. And then our producer Alex goes like, I bet you Blaine's the best dressed. And he comes out in this horrible, I'm sorry to listeners who can't see it, this horrible striped shirt.
It's fire. It's fire.
No.
And the thing is, he's right that Blaiden, I think, has a case for best dressed. For what I saw in Vegas, I think that Blaiden really does. But right now, he is the worst dressed. So
thank you.
I have fire fits. Nah, you can only.
I'm gonna have to start throwing fits. I gotta point the proof.
It's because I'm wearing headphones and I'm not wearing.
And the only piece of clothing you're wearing that we can see sucks. So that doesn't help.
No, it's a great shirt. You're just a hater. Not. You're really just a hater. But Theo, we made a TikTok, or I guess I made a TikTok and you stitched it, about whether or not Baker Mayfield would become bigger. So we're allowing this Browns talk today. If Baker Mayfield would become bigger than LeBron in Cleveland, not in all of NBA or NFL, just in Cleveland, if the Browns won the Super Bowl. I don't think at all. I don't think he would.
I'm not from Cleveland. I've never been to Cleveland, so I can't capture the vibe of the city. To me, it seems like immediately after the Super Bowl, Baker would probably be more important than LeBron, in the aftermath of the Browns winning the Super Bowl. But as the years went on, the staying power of LeBron is bigger than the staying power of Baker Mayfield. So that's why my joke was he would be for an hour and a half. He probably would be for a little bit. But my kind of joke was that it would be for a very brief amount of time and then it would go back to being LeBron. But the comment section of people from Cleveland seem to disagree.
Yes, I'm telling you, I think you guys are really underrating. The people in Cleveland, from what I've seen, or in Ohio, first off, Browns mean more to them than the Cavs by a lot. Yeah. But not Cleveland, even close.
Cleveland is a Browns town.
And we can sit here and we can know that Baker Mayfield is not the best player on the Browns. Probably not the most important person to that team. We probably think that Stefanski is maybe more important as the head coach.
Yeah.
But I think he's the quarterback. They've needed a quarterback for so long. They just love Baker there. And I know what LeBron did is more difficult, and the Cavs winning a championship has more to do with them. I think the city of Cleveland just likes. I just think they like Baker better, for better or for worse.
Yeah,
I would disagree. I love LeBron. I think he should be bigger.
I think the way we all thought about it was Baker isn't as big to us as LeBron, because again, when LeBron won the finals, it felt like it was a lot of he was so important. He was so critical to them winning that championship. I don't think they could have had any other player in the league other than maybe Kevin Durant at the time. And even then, I don't know if they would have won it. But if the Browns there are a number of quarterbacks that the Browns could have, and they would, and if they won the Super Bowl, they would still win the Super Bowl.
No, but you would have a lot of Browns fans, and not everybody would agree with this. There'd be a lot of people who would see LeBron meant more to the team, and he had to.
That's not the argument. Blah, blah, blah. The argument is not who is better.
It's LeBron who's bigger, Baker. And Baker would be bigger. Baker hasn't left the Browns. Baker is such a Browns culture guy. The Browns are more important. I think he would be.
I think it would be for a while. I don't think it would be if you go 20 years from now, looking back, who's the bigger Cleveland sports icon. it will be LeBron in the long run. I believe. I can't imagine, like, I don't have my finger to the pulse of the city, but I can't imagine, like, in the long run, Baker is the bigger, when people are ranking Cleveland sports icons, you know, even people from Cleveland probably would put LeBron above Baker, but it would probably be for a while. Because the comment section was like, people in Cleveland, not only are they not big Cavs fans like they are Brown fans, a lot of them straight up don't like LeBron. Like, like that was what like, they do not love him like that. Is at least that's what the comment section of Cleveland people were telling me.
A lot of it depends also on how good would Baker play in the Super Bowl. If they win in spite of Baker, not the same as if Baker is great that year and he gets Super Bowl MVP. Those are two different things.
But perhaps the question is, does Baker become bigger than LeBron in Cleveland? At first, it seems like a very silly proposition. Perhaps it's not as ridiculous as it is to someone who lives somewhere else and just knows, you know, LeBron better than Baker. Like, that's common knowledge. But in the heart of the city of Cleveland, maybe the national people don't have quite a read on that, is the vibe that I got.
I guess I'm just glad that we're even talking about the possibility of a Browns Super Bowl. So, we may never possible. We may never have this dialogue again in my lifetime.
No, if the Browns and Baker do win it, get ready for the Baker won a championship and he didn't have to leave type tweets. Like, that will for sure be a thing.
And I'll retweet.
Yeah, LeBron will get slandered if Baker wins a Super Bowl. Yeah, somehow it'll come around to that. Yeah, it will, won't it? Sad.
LeMickey. Anyway,
Baker Mayfield.
Anyway, we're gonna hop right back in where we left off with the locks and the letdowns for the NFC. We're gonna go into the NFC North and the NFC South today. If you haven't heard our previous episode, we talked about the locks and the letdowns for the NFC East and West. So make sure you go and check that episode out. But let's hop right back in. NFC South. Matt, your team is in this division, so yes. I'm sure you have a lot of locks for the Panthers.
I mean, I'm not too overly biased, but I can give you a Panthers guy that I think is a little bit slept on. That'd be Robby Anderson. Robby Anderson's getting drafted like wide receiver 35 territory. He finished last year like wide receiver 22. And I understand a lot of the arguments against him, right? Don't trust Sam Darnold. Don't trust the offense. There's a lot of guys on that team. Fair enough. But the quarterback situation was bad last year. There were a lot of targets on the team last year, and he still put up great numbers. It's like there's a lot of great targets on the Panthers who are going to take away targets from other people. Robby Anderson's the guy taking targets away from other people. He's great. He's a great player. And I understand the Darnold concerns, but when him and Darnold played together a couple of years ago, they put up great. That was a great connection. They did great with each other. And we're expecting an improved Sam Darnold this season. I also understand that, like, okay, McCaffrey's back and maybe he takes a ton of targets, but Mike Davis got a lot of targets last year. So I'm looking at a guy who finished wide receiver 2 last year at 35. I think that's all upside.
I agree. I mean, I have concerns about Robby Anderson, plenty of them, but it's all alleviated with where he's getting drafted. Like, those concerns are baked into the ADP. And when you get that low, it's like the people around him have bigger concerns without the history of finishing higher than that. So I would agree with you. Like, at first I am one of those people who is like, yeah, you got to look at Darnold and the offensive line isn't that good. And DJ Moore is the better wide receiver. So he's probably going to get more, targets. And Terrace Marshall, I'm high on. All these things that I'm like, I wouldn't draft. I'd try to stay away from Robby Anderson, but with where he's getting drafted, those concerns get pretty alleviated.
And DJ Moore's going 15. He's wide receiver 20.
Yeah.
So, and my concern with DJ Moore, I'm a big DJ Moore guy. He's not scored a lot of touchdowns before. That'd be the one thing I'd be worried about. And I don't know if that changes this year with how the offense is. But Darnold and Anderson have a huge connection. I don't know what makes Anderson go so low right now. He's not a flashy pick, but he could be really strong.
Yeah. No, I definitely like Robby a lot. Theo, who's your guy? What
if Michael Thomas is back by like week 4? Like, what if it's best case scenario, and it's the end of September and he's back, and he's getting drafted as wide receiver like 47. Like, you forget about him. Like,
Carson Wentz made it back like today.
Yeah, it's like Michael Thomas. I understand that I was a Michael Thomas owner last year, so I can sympathize with the concerns when it comes to Michael Thomas, because he was so inconsistent and frustrating and a waste of a league loser last year with how high I drafted him. I understand, but it's like, man, like, what if he's back? I mean, the reports I saw, like, worst case scenario, we might be back after the bye week by like week 7. And then you've got a wide receiver, an extra bonus wide receiver 1 on your team going into the playoffs in the final stretch.
I'm seeing him as, I don't know where you're seeing him as 47 wide receiver. I've been seeing him get drafted way higher than that. I've been seeing him get drafted. I mean, I'm looking at him right now at 27, and I don't disagree with.
I see him at 26.
I don't disagree that, like, at 47 the gamble's ridiculous. Problem with Thomas is, like, what if, like, there's a problem with the Saints and you don't know about that? Or what if they want it? Like, there's so many question marks that if you have to draft him as a real wide receiver that you're counting on, I don't love it. I think that's something, because I think he's like, you're going to have to draft him in starter territory to get a shot at him. And I think he's the type of guy where a lot of people are like, if he'll be a league winner, and that pushes his value way, way up. So where I don't know if the risk is worth it.
I've got him. I'm looking at Underdog Fantasy ADP, and he is there under Jarvis Landry and above Jalen Waddle.
I'm looking at Fantasy Pros, and I see him above Claypool and Odell and Juju and Cortland Sutton. And honestly, like, he's over some very solid wide receiver 1s. He can win you a league. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't think Michael Thomas is ridiculously talented. We're not low on Michael Thomas talent-wise on this podcast whatsoever.
We love Michael Thomas.
Yeah, like, I totally think he has the tools to be the best receiver in the league, or up there, one of them. But I don't know. That situation is very, very scary.
It is. I think that he is a worthy bet, though. I think that if others are scared of him, he's maybe one guy that I'll kind of be a little bit more aggressive to target, because I think people, just with the mess surrounding things right now, and people don't like Michael Thomas is the other thing. People hate Michael Thomas. People hate him. Well, so I think that kind of drives down his value a little bit, because people don't. If he was someone like with a Larry Fitzgerald type repertoire and like people loved him, people would like be a little bit more willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that he was going to like work his way back, like grind and work his way back earlier, but they don't. So they don't like him. They like to make fun of him. And I think that kind of pulls his value down. I'm going to be a guy like I would take a shot at Michael Thomas. And I think that he could be back earlier.
This is what sucks about him, is that he was a guy where narratives were making him get slept on. And before all this injury stuff, you're like, that's my big time sleeper. You can get Michael Thomas in the second round, and he is in line to go nuts this year. And then all this injury stuff made me feel not so great about it. Right. I also think that there's the risk of either some sort of problem with the Saints. He can miss more time than we expect. He could come back. And we saw last year he came back and he wasn't quite right because he rushed back, and it might not be impossible that he does the same here. There's just a lot of unknowns.
He looked really good against the Falcons. I just remember watching that Taysom Hill game, and I'm like, oh man, Michael Thomas is looking like old Michael Thomas in this game. And he did get shut down in the playoffs, and he was not nearly as good in 2020 as it was in 2019. I think around like wide receiver 25, like if you have like a solid wide receiver 1, maybe a second one on your team already, you take Michael Thomas, you double up, and you hope he's there by the time, week.
And then there's a lot. I will say that there's a lot of depth at receiver, and I'm not against the risk, because it is a league winner move, but he is discounted for fair reason. It's not just free value.
I guess. I also feel confident in my ability to get a sleeper to hold me over until he comes back, like Marquez Callaway, who,
that actually is kind of the play. I think that does make me feel better about it. Go Callaway, you get the number 1 receiver, and then when Thomas comes back, you're good. It just depends on how high depends on how high Thomas is.
Yeah.
I've been a guy, I drafted Michael Thomas at the back of the first 2 years in a row. I went Michael Thomas, Davante Adams. I had the last pick. I went back to back Michael Thomas, Davante Adams, and I ended up both years trading Michael Thomas about midway through the year. So
trading him 2 years ago is a little bit of a questionable move there.
I traded him for I can't remember exactly what I packaged. It might have just been him. Was that the year that Adams got hurt? Was Adams hurt that year? There was a year where it's like, so maybe it wasn't Adams, but I ended up trading him with someone else, and I got like Saquon and a bunch of other players. Like I got a ton for that. So
you won Offensive Player of the Year that year, so you would have had for that to be worth it. But if you traded him last year, that all worked out because he was rough last year. He lost me a league. I drafted him so high. It worked
out both years. The guy that traded me for Michael Thomas ended up like dead last in our league.
Okay. Who's your guy?
My guy, okay. Last year, Chris Godwin got hurt, and Chris Godwin was 30th in fantasy at receiver. He's being drafted, I think, 15th in ADP right now. 2019, he was second in fantasy.
He's a baller.
If he can get anywhere near where he was 2 years ago, there's no way he's like worse than the 15th receiver. That's absurd.
I don't think it's impossible. I don't want to hate on Godwin. We were high on him before he broke out. I remember that. We were really high on him before he broke out. But I'm not going to disagree with you. I think 15 is probably about fair for him. He is a really talented receiver, but there are so many players on that team who need the ball.
But like, were there not a lot of players in 2019?
I'm not disagreeing. Probably more so now, though.
What was the biggest difference between, like, in terms of weapons, other than the fact that they got Brady? I mean, was there a significant? I mean, they weren't like
Antonio
running
Brown
the ball.
Antonio Brown's a big question mark because Antonio Brown was kind of good last year. Like he was very limited, but he showed enough potential where he might be a guy that needs a lot of target. Like he might be a guy that could potentially be a top wide receiver in the league, and that is the big question.
You got to stop taking my one of my other sleepers right now because it is Antonio Brown with his great ADP.
Well, mine. One sec. This is all why mine is Tom Brady as quarterback. Like 9. People are like, oh my God, there's so many weapons in Tampa Bay. Like which one? Who should I draft? Like Tom Brady.
The guy throwing to him.
The guy throwing to him. He doesn't need to split targets with anyone. He's getting drafted as like quarterback 9 right now. I mean, he could definitely throw. Like,
I like Brady a lot in fantasy.
I think
it's just such a safe.
I think he outplayed them. I mean, even without the rushing upside, like I think he still outplayed his draft position like last year. And I think he's a pretty safe bet to throw like.
Did he not have 40 touchdowns last year?
Yeah, he did. So
Brady was at 8 last year. I think 9 is fine for him. He just is like such a consistent.
It's locks, right? Fantasy locks and letdowns. I think he's a lock. Like he has got so many weapons. He's Tom Brady. Yep. He's a lock to not be a disappointing pick with where people are drafting him. It's not like he's going. And
it's like you get a back end quarterback and it's Brady on a great offense. You're gonna feel pretty good about that. You're gonna feel pretty strong about that.
You're feeling more than pretty good. If you have like a solid team and you get Tom Brady, you're good.
But I'm keeping on the theme because one of my busts is on Tampa Bay. I think Mike Evans is the guy who suffers. I think Mike Evans is the guy who's going to have a problem.
We're just rolling through Tampa right now.
We're rolling through Tampa. Well, the big questions in Tampa right now are like who's getting the ball, who's not. And maybe Mike Evans does end up with the most targets. But last year he had the least targets of his career, I think outside of his rookie season. And he's being drafted as a wide receiver 1. And that makes me he's at 11. That makes me very, very nervous. And that team's going to score a lot of He was good. He had a lot of touchdowns last year. And I would guess that he would have a lot of touchdowns this year, but 13 is a tough number to repeat.
Yeah, especially he's famous for getting 1,000 yards every year. He got 1,006 last year. He got 1,006.
And Antonio Brown's going to be there the whole year this time.
Yep, and Godwin's going to be there the whole year this time. Like I'm not saying that he's going to go under 1,000 yards, but like I don't know.
I'm just looking at that situation and I'm finding reasons why he would get less targets, not more.
Right, exactly.
Because those other guys are going to play more, and he is getting. And if he was Godwin territory, if he was a little bit lower, where he's your wide receiver 2, it's like I don't feel so bad about 12-team league. This is a wide receiver 1 at his ADP, and that makes me very nervous.
I'm not taking Mike Evans over Chris Godwin. I'm not taking Mike Evans. I don't think I'm taking him over Julio. I don't think I'm taking him over Amari Cooper.
There's just some guys where I trust him to get 120, 130 targets, and I can't say that about Evans, and he's going so high. I back to Antonio Brown at 40, at wide receiver 40. I really think he's the play. He's definitely as just like baseline. I like the other 2 receivers better, but he's so far below him, and I don't think breaking 100 targets is out of the question for him at all. He's still super talented, and Brady likes him.
Yeah, I mean, he's Antonio Brown, arguably the best wide receiver of the decade, and someone who, I know his PFF grade was really high last year. Someone who was definitely a contributor for them in the playoffs. I don't have his target numbers right in front of me because my Wi-Fi is being slow. But he's to be a wide receiver 40,
you're drafting. You're not even drafting him as your flex. That's like the best value play you could make, man. It's just a really nice one. Yeah, I'm trying to go look at his.
He had 62 targets last year. He started
8 games.
8 games, 4 starts.
So he was on pace. He was on pace to get more targets than Mike Evans was.
Yes.
He was on pace for nearly 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. I don't know. I like that.
Is that your lock, Matt? Is that your lock?
I don't want.
He's a lock to be better than wide receiver. Like, he's coming off the bench.
Wide receiver, at that point. 40? It's like, what does him finishing at wide receiver 40 look like? He does something or he gets hurt. Yeah. Other than that, I'd be hard-pressed to see him getting less than 100 targets.
The only thing you really have to be concerned about with Antonio Brown is if he just freaks out and leaves.
It's your backup receiver. You can even get another guy after that. There's so little downside at 40.
Right.
Yeah.
No, he's a good play there for sure.
Well, Theo, do you want to hit another letdown, or do you want me to give my 2 cents real quick?
You can give your 2 cents.
Matt,
I want to hear what you have to say.
Are you ready to hate me?
Go for it.
Christian McCaffrey.
I don't hate you. I don't.
I know you're like, he's being projected at like 2nd overall. So It's like, how are you supposed to reach those expectations?
It's like if you're being drafted number 1 overall, all you can do is disappoint. And that's where Christian McCaffrey's being drafted.
Oh, wait, he's projected number 1. Oh, yeah. I didn't see
he always is.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like Kamara or Derek, but no, it's McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous though. It's like
I think it is. I think it is ridiculous.
Where would you realistically expect him to finish?
I don't know. I just don't know
Top
if
5?
I trust. It's just you're.
I don't trust any of those running backs because you're drafting them number 1 overall. What if they get hurt? Like right there, like Derrick Henry. He's gotten a billion carries.
Okay, Derrick Henry. Yeah, but Derrick Henry hasn't been hurt before. Christian McCaffrey's coming off an injured season, and he's going to get a ton of volume immediately.
Well, then fuck. It's like, if he's going to get too much volume, then he can't win, can he? Because then if he wasn't going to get the volume, it'd be like, he's not going to get the volume.
Yeah, I don't think it's ridiculous that if someone had the 1st overall pick and they picked McCaffrey, I might go with Kamara just because, he was...
Yeah, he's a little bit that.
He's a little bit more built than McCaffrey. He's like a little bit more physical and like he's not coming off a major injury like McCaffrey is. I can maybe see that. I wouldn't blame you for taking anyone else at the 1 spot like over McCaffrey, but it's not like I think that him going.
They gave him the ball like 400 times once. He has like the best receiving upside of like any running back. If you're in PPR, it's not even a question because he's going to catch the ball so much. Derrick Henry went nuts last year. I don't even think he was wide receiver 1. If you want to go Kamara at 1, I see the argument because he's less injury prone, or maybe the touches go up, but I kind of don't think they will because they want to keep him healthy. But like everyone knows the injury problems with McCaffrey. It is a little bit of a risk. You could be right. Hubbard maybe gets more carries. The offensive line isn't going to be good, but if they give him the ball a ton, which they're probably going to, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, what is the alternative?
I guess it's a double-edged sword. I guess it's a double-edged sword, right?
So, okay, He's your bust. So let's say at 4, no Cook, no Kamara, no Henry. What are you doing? You're taking McCaffrey.
I thought it. I've kind of been on that Theo plane right now, where it's like, if those 3 guys aren't there, I'm probably going receiver at that point.
I think that's insane. I think going a receiver.
Name one genius who isn't crazy, man. Name one genius who isn't crazy.
I would go McCaffrey. Take the risk that you could have the best running back by a lot, and you can still swing around in most drafts, unless it's like a 14, and you can probably still get a guy who I have in one of those higher tier receivers.
I think probably that Nick, because there's Nick Chubb who is splitting time big time with Hill. Derrick Henry has no receiving upside, and eventually the treads are going to come off his tires, and he's in a more pass-heavy offense now. So, I might bet on McCaffrey going above him. Like, I can see Kamara, and I like Kamara a lot because, especially with Michael Thomas gone, like, he is the guy there. And I think that he is the argument for most talented running back in the league because I think he's every bit the receiver McCaffrey is, plus a better pure rusher. So I can maybe see McCaffrey, but they've always been hesitant to give Kamara that kind of workload, whereas, albeit with a different regime, the Panthers have given McCaffrey that before. It's like, I understand the concern. I really do understand where you're coming from, Blaiden, where it's like, he's a little dude. He's coming off an injury. Maybe little dude gets hurt with a bunch of work. Like, I don't want to be,
and I don't want to be that guy who's like, McCaffrey's going to get hurt. It's just, if I'm drafting you number 1 overall, if I have the first pick, I am definitely scared to take a guy with injury concerns.
I would be too, and that is, but the alternatives are just not good enough for me to be like, I wouldn't.
Yeah, like, I guess. I think Kamara for me is kind of the obvious pick at number 1, and then kind of after that, I guess you could go McCaffrey. But I feel, I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of a reach to say that, like, because again, it's like number 1. It's like, how are you supposed to?
I agree that he's not like a slam dunk.
You can't be better than that, but yeah.
He's maybe not the absolute guarantee. Like, there's more problems than maybe people consider, but I can't see him as like a bust. Even knowing the injury problem. We all know, and it's like you still are going to take him as a tier 1 running back.
Yeah, I guess that's totally fair. All right, Theo. Who's your letdown?
Who is my letdown?
The NFC South.
Oh, I don't know. The NFC South is hard because I like it. I thought maybe Ronald Jones. I don't love Ronald Jones, but he's being drafted so low. He's being drafted so low. It's like at that point, I don't think Arians likes Ronald Jones all that much because he can't catch. I will say that I like Giovanni Bernard in deeper leagues because I think he's reliable. He's their reliable pass catching guy and reliable blocker. And they don't even really need a good running back because their passing attack will be so good. So they might just want a guy who's the reliable vet. So Gio Bernard might have a bigger role than everyone thinks. But I don't know. I could say maybe you talked a little bit about Kyle Pitts.
And you know what? I actually, you made me think a lot more about that take. I know we're both kind of thinking about it. He is definitely one of those guys. I feel like I said this last time where it's like, it seems like there's more outcomes where he finishes below his ADP than above it. I really think that's the case. And these are the biggest expectations that any rookie tight end has ever had. And tight end is one of the toughest positions, and he's going to come out and he needs to be like elite day 1 for him to be worth it.
Right. And I think you're not going to find like a bigger Kyle Pitts fan than me. He was my number 1 graded prospect by a substantial margin. I cannot say enough good things. I think he's Darren Waller without the drop problems. Like, the dude is just, you watched his college tape and he was on a different planet. And I think if anyone's going to be the first tight end to finish with 1,000 yards since like Mike Ditka did it, it's going to be him because he has the opportunity. And he's, the wide receiver 2 on that team is Russell Gage. But even if he does all those things, he's still tight end 4. Like, he's not going to be better than the top 3. And it's like, you got Hawkinson, who's like going to catch 1 million balls. And you got like, with all the injuries that are happening to the Ravens guys, maybe like you can be a really, really special rookie tight end and still finish like,
he could be a Hall of Famer and be a letdown this year in fantasy. He could be a first ballot Hall of Famer and be a letdown this year in fantasy.
So I think that it's very likely that he does finish as wide receiver or tight end 4, like exactly tight end 4. But like our producer said, like he was talking about Kyle Pitts, and they were doing an auction draft, and Kyle Pitts went for like $30, and TJ Hawkinson went for like $5. It's like he's not that much better than everyone else.
There's just like, I mean, with winning leagues, you need to find guys who finish above ADP, find value, and it's just Pitts is being valued so highly that he's great, but is he doing that for you?
Yeah, he's probably not going to be above his value.
Right.
I think it's decent shot that he finishes at his value, which would be crazy for a rookie tight end. And he's that crazy good where he can finish at that value. But like, you want to buy low, and it's just impossible to buy him low. So I don't want to come off as like Kyle Pitts slander, because I love that guy and I think he's so good. But yeah, if we're talking fantasy, like there's just not a ton of meat on the bone to like get more than you bargained for.
Yep.
All right. Well, Matt, Theo already gave, I guess, his second lock for the South with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So who's your lock? Who's your second lock for the South?
Talked about him like a million times, but I can run it back one more time. Mike Davis. And a lot of people have been sleeping. No, I actually, the reason why I want to talk about this is because I had some people like really argue against Mike Davis, and it was bothering me. They're like, well, they're not going to be the best rushing offense in the world and blah, blah, blah. It's like, screw that. No, Mike Davis is, first off, he's not just a guy. I saw way too much of that. I've been looking online. It's like, oh, he's just a guy. Oh, he's just a guy. No, bullshit. He is better than that. He is legitimately a good running back. He has no serious competition behind him unless you think an undrafted free agent is going to come take his job. The Falcons chose to go get him this year, and they chose not to have like a serious backup. Now, maybe one of these undrafted free agents, maybe one of these other guys for the Falcons does come in and takes a chunk of the carries.
Felipe Franks.
But even if the Falcons were the team that decided to rush the least and were the worst rushing team, I still think that Mike Davis could easily end up with 200 plus carries, not carries, but touches. He's got great receiving upside. He was a very solid blocker last year. He's going to be on the field all the time. And he's getting drafted ridiculously low. I have a hard time seeing him finishing below his ADP bar entry. Like, what would have to happen? It'd have to be like a James Robinson situation. And I saw somebody like seriously be like, well, what if that happened? What if one of the undrafted free agents becomes amazing? So if that's the argument against them, I'm taking him all day.
Yeah, he's going.
You
really
want to talk
late.
about how amazing a blocker he is? He's PFF's #1 run blocking halfback by not just like a wide
halfback.
Yeah. It's weird.
I don't care.
No, so
what's his pass blocking?
Yeah.
His pass blocking grade is like a 52. His run blocking is an 86.
How many run blocking snaps does
he's not getting us any point.
36
blocking for the run.
So we got 36 snap sample size where I guess he's run blocking in a 2.
Hey, I think that's like top 15.
I don't know. I thought he was an all right pass blocker last year, but maybe I'm biased because he played for the Panthers.
I mean, he's a big, thick dude. Have you seen his legs?
Yeah, I mean,
if I was an edge rusher, I wouldn't want to run into him that much. I don't know.
Yeah,
he should be on the field a lot,
I'm wrong,
and that's good. That's. I agree with you. Mike Davis is a guy. I knew you were going to say him, so I didn't put him in. But
that's very sweet.
Yeah, he's a blatantly clear running back 1.
And there just aren't that many of those
And there
guys.
aren't that many of those. Like, even Nick Chubb isn't that. So, like, yeah, you should draft the blatantly clear running back 1 if you get the opportunity, especially as late as he's going.
Yeah. Well,
I don't have another bust in this division. I could force one. I don't really have one.
I had Michael Thomas.
I have a lock.
I had Michael Thomas
down
just because I had some questions about it, but I don't really think it's a bust.
I have another potential lock. The South is hard, right? I feel like it's really hard to find like locks or busts in this division. But I kind of, and I've been leaning this a little bit kind of recently, Matt Ryan, because the last time where he had a really good offensive coordinator, he won MVP. And I don't think he's going to win MVP, but maybe we're looking at close to 5,000 yards, right? And obviously the thing that would have to happen for him to win MVP is the Falcons would also have to be good. And I don't know if that happens. But like if he puts up like 4,500 yards, 32 touchdowns.
The strategy I've liked with Matt Ryan is you take Lance first and then Matt Ryan second, because Matt Ryan, 4,500 yards, 4,400 yards, 4,900 yards, 40, 49, 45. Yeah. Like, he's always putting up a ton of yards.
Exactly.
You know, touchdowns in the mid 20s, even in the 30s, a couple in the past couple of years. So I agree with that. I think Matt Ryan's a decent pick. I wouldn't want him, like, if you're in a 12-team league, he's not
Matt
really
Ryan.
Top 12
Matt Ryan is a safe pick if you have a guy who you think could be stellar, but like it's a risky.
If
pick.
you have Hurts or Lance, or you take maybe like Lawrence or one of the rookies that you're just not sure about, and you want a good backup option, I think that Matt Ryan's a safe pick. Yeah, I would agree.
So
I think
he's a lock to be incredibly safe. That's the take. He's a lock to be incredibly safe. Yeah, I don't know if I have another letdown. Matt, you said Michael Thomas, maybe?
We already talked about him earlier.
Yeah,
I didn't even I was just trying to get 2 down. I'll be honest. We all know
I could say maybe Ronald Jones, but he's getting drafted.
He's not getting. Yeah, it's baked into the ADP already.
I'm concerned. On the Panthers, there's DJ Moore, but he's also getting drafted kind of low, and Robbie Anderson. Everyone's kind of getting drafted. On the Saints, there's like no one getting drafted at all except for Alvin Kamara. So it's like I don't really see all these. Like,
another fun guy who's getting maybe a little bit low, Latavius Murray. He's not bad. He finished just like a running back 3 last year. They give him a fair amount of carries. He's not going to have the receiving upside. He's more of a backup, but he's getting drafted like running back 43. And I think his situation probably got a little bit better for maybe to him get a little bit more carries. Talk about how that team's going to run more. I don't think they're going to really go crazy with Kamara. I think Latavius Murray probably repeats about where he was. And
hold on, Matt.
He's a little undervalued.
You know, I've been kind of quoting PFF grades all day. And I don't know if it like means a whole lot, but Latavius Murray had 153 receiving snaps, not like targets or anything, just like snaps where like it was a pass play and he ran a route. Yeah. He had an 83 receiving grade, which was 4th among running backs.
See, so he's nice.
Like receiving upside is there.
I said the receiving up. I'm not saying he can't catch. I'm saying that I feel like Kamara's gonna. He's not the main guy to get the receiving. I mean,
Kamara's second. Nyheim Hines is kind of the first. Is the first guy.
Dude, I mean, it's just like I don't know. I feel like he's a little bit undervalued because he probably doesn't have that breakout chance, but he's having a good, solid backup. And then, of course, you do also kind of get a lottery ticket if something happens to Alvin, then he's a league winner.
If you got Alvin and Latavius,
also might get cut.
You really think so?
I've seen rumors that he could get cut, but those were like a week and a half ago that I was seeing those, and it hasn't happened yet. He is kind of making a lot of money, and the Saints cap situation is still not super, to say the least. So he might be a cap casualty. But if he stays on,
I'll be honest. I was ignorant of that.
That's okay because I don't think he'll get cut. Like I
didn't hear anything about.
Or that. Then he becomes the ultimate sleeper, and it's awesome when the Rams pick him up and he becomes running back 1 for them.
Yeah. But that's just the one thing. Like I agree with you, Matt, and I think it's weird. But one thing I saw on my timeline was like 2 Saints beat reporters floated it as a possibility, but that was like a week and a half ago.
Okay. Then here's something else to think about. If he does get cut, they picked up Devonta Freeman as the 3rd string guy. If he gets cut, Devonta Freeman, all of a sudden he becomes a guy who's in line for like 100.
And if Devonta Freeman gets cut, then the guy behind him.
Look, there's a guy. The Saints like to give the ball to multiple running backs. They don't like to give Alvin a trillion carries like some teams do because they know about keeping the running backs healthy. Whoever's the backup is going to get a fair amount of touches and be the best backup in the league or like in the fantasy, or he'll be, a playable flex option or whatever. Just watch out for that because they're going to get drafted below that.
I'll give you another hypothetical. If Latavius gets cut, do the Rams pick him up?
Yeah, I said that. I
float that as a possibility.
I floated that just a second ago. Yeah. I think 100. I really do think the Rams would pick him up. I really believe the Rams are going to make a running back. We were talking about if the Rams traded for a guy earlier.
right?
I just brought him up like 2 seconds ago. You don't even listen when I talk. No, I brought it up like 2 minutes ago.
I swear you didn't say that.
Yes, you just zone out when I speak.
I hate you, man.
It's gonna.
That's all
right.
this is. Moving on to the NFC North. Who do you guys really like here? Anyone you really love in the NFC North, Matt?
I love Davante Adams, and I know that's the world's least hot take because he's wide receiver one.
I think wide receiver one will be very good.
We've talked about all the running backs that we're not sure about. If I had the number one overall pick in the entire league, I would strongly consider taking Davante because that guy gets double-digit touchdowns every damn year. He's going to get double-digit touchdowns this year. He's going to potentially lead the league in yards. I feel more confident about Davante than I do anyone else in the entire league. And especially among running backs, like that guy has wide receiver 2 in Green Bay is going to end up being Devin Funchess. Like that guy is going to have 180 targets. He might even outdo what he did last year. I don't know. I just think that when it comes to a safe pick, people feel scared to draft a wide receiver because running backs are the ones who get the most points. Once I have a very short list of running backs that I would consider taking before Davante. Once 3 of Dalvin, Kamara, McCaffrey, and maybe Henry go off the board, I'm taking Davante Adams immediately. That just makes my decision not a decision. I'm going with Adams. He's a lock. He is the biggest lock to be good in the entire league, I think. That guy is going to have tons of production. He just
Theo,
is.
I know you just can't wait till we get to the AFC West. We just
Waller?
talk about because lock being a lock.
Oh, don't try. No, you guys overestimate how much I like Locke. I like Locke in that I think he can. No,
I just thought you.
We talked about this 2 episodes ago.
I thought you would just want to make the pun. I thought you would just want to make the pun.
I will make the pun. Now you ruined the pun. But Davante Adams, not a hot take because he's obviously getting drafted as wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, maybe behind Hill and Diggs at the latest. But I even think however, I'm as high on him as anyone is. I would seriously consider drafting him 101. Seriously.
You know what? Can we rewind for a second? I want to point out that 2 months ago, people were talking about how Calvin Ridley has wide receiver 1 potential. And now he's getting drafted at wide receiver 6, wide receiver 7.
Kyle Pitts.
I'm rewinding to AFC South. I'm just saying
that's what happened. I'm not saying that I disagree with you. I have Calvin Ridley in my tier 1 of wide receivers. He's in line for a ton of targets. He's got a good quarterback throwing to him. There's nothing not to like. But the reason why his stock went down a little bit is because it was just him on the team or whatever for a second.
Yeah.
And then
I suppose
the list I'm looking at has him at 4 behind Adams, Hill, Diggs, and then Ridley, which is about where I'd put him.
Okay.
But
yeah,
if I know in the mock drafts we've been doing on Sleeper, we've been able to get him stupid late. I don't know if that's going to happen in real life.
But I would agree with you. Yeah, he's really, really, really strong. I like him. He's definitely just in that tier 1. And if I swing around in the second round and he's there, I'm going to feel awesome about taking him every
for
time.
example, in that 32 team league, Matt, that we did, I was able to get Calvin Ridley and Amari Cooper with the 20. I had the 27th pick, and I got
Calvin Ridley at 27. Silliness. That guy has total potential to get.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, he's got 150 targets written all over him. So
I don't know.
That's back to NFC South.
yeah, that was back to NFC South. Let's get back to NFC North. Theo really likes Davante Adams. Matt, who's your guy?
Jamaal Williams. It's my guy. They just love him in Detroit, and I've heard quotes that they see him as the down back a little bit more over Swift. And I'm not going to put too much into camp quotes because they have a lot of capital invested in DeAndre Swift, and they don't have it in Jamaal Williams. But that team is going to run a lot, and I really think Jamaal Williams is going to get a lot of carries. And DeAndre Swift is injury prone, and if they run him more than people expect, or if something happens to Swift, or even if neither of those things happen, at 38, at running back 38, he is 100% upside. Plus, I think he's a really solid back.
Matt, you stole my guy.
Behind a good offensive line.
I said this in a video last week. and people said I was crazy. Well, I didn't say this exactly. I said that I don't think DeAndre Swift is going to be as good in fantasy as people think, because I think Jamaal Williams may end up taking that lead.
We can go into that. He's my letdown. DeAndre Swift scares me because if it's more of a time split than people think, it's probably not going to work out, and he's injury prone.
I said that a week. Oh my! I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that.
And there's totally this. He's so talented, and the offensive line's good, so I get it. Like I do, but it's just a little scary to me.
Yeah,
it's a little frightening.
I would draft DeAndre Swift. I'm not frightened by DeAndre Swift. I think that you've got a talented guy.
Aren't you the guy that like hates tiny running backs?
I guess, but like, I don't know. Considering where I hate tiny running backs when they're Christian McCaffrey getting drafted number one.
When they're on my favorite team.
Yeah. But like,
where is out to get you, Matt?
Swift is going at like running back 16, and it's like they're not going to be able to pass it all that effectively. The coach in Detroit is obsessed with running things into the ground. So you've got a running back in that situation behind a decent offensive line with a coach that definitely wants to run the football. And Swift is the one with the receiving upside.
That is true.
He's probably the most talented back. Like at 16,
yes.
I drafted him in in the league that I really seriously am excited about. I drafted him and I felt pretty good about it. So I don't know if I would. Maybe he's a letdown, but I expected him to be going much higher than 16 with considering. I mean,
he doesn't strike me as a 3-down back. I think even best case scenario, I think the best argument for him is that he is the most talented back. They do have a great offensive line and the receiving upside. And I think Goff is probably going to check it down a lot. That makes me feel good about him. But I totally think that Jamaal Williams will have a little bit bigger role. And I do think DeAndre Swift is a little bit injury prone. Running back 16, I think that's fair value for him. I'll give you that. I just don't think he's a lock, I guess.
Yeah, Jamaal Williams, as a Packer fan and a guy who loves Jamaal Williams, and it's impossible not to love Jamaal Williams because he is the greatest guy of all time. He's just not a running back one, you know? Like he might be the guy people think Mike Davis is. He's always hovering around, 3.8, 4.0 yards per carry behind an awesome Packers offensive line.
Yeah.
I they might say it in practice because Jamaal Williams is just such a charismatic person, and you might be like this guy is awesome in training camp. But like when the games roll around, you're gonna want Swift on. I
really do think he's still gonna get a fair amount of carries, even if DeAndre Smith is a more talented back with the receiving upside. So I don't want to. I don't know if I just said like 2 seconds ago that I had Williams over Swift. I don't. Swift over Williams all day. But I do think that Williams is in line to probably get a few more carries than people expect. I think that limits Swift's upside a little bit, even if you're just doing that because you don't want to run him into the ground.
It's totally fair.
Yes, I would agree. And also, Williams is a very good pass blocker, good pass blocker. So that might be another thing. Dan Campbell is like, can't have our 5'8" guy pass blocking. We need Jamaal Williams in there. So that might be another thing. So. Yes, I don't disagree that Williams has extra value, but I wouldn't shy away from Swift at where he's getting drafted. That's my thing.
I guess that's fair. You know what's weird to me?
What's strange?
2018. This guy was wide receiver 11 in 2018, wide receiver 15 in 2019, and wide receiver 11 in 2020. And now Tyler Lockett is being drafted wide receiver 21. Why?
One problem with him, not in the NFC North.
Oh, shit.
This was a conversation for last episode. But I guess, yeah.
Oh, man. No, you know what happened is I was looking at Justin Jefferson, and then I got sidetracked and started looking at Tyler Lockett.
I don't understand that, but all right. Justin Jefferson's a good player, though.
No, I do think Justin Jefferson is good, but he was like wide receiver 6 last year, and now he's getting drafted like wide receiver 8, and that's like fine.
Yeah, I think he's getting drafted appropriately. I've got Thielen though, who I'm looking at the underdog list, and here Adam Thielen is wide receiver 25, which is stupid because he is. He finished as wide receiver 10 last year. So.
I'm seeing him as wide receiver 16 over here.
I see him.
Wide receiver 25 behind T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Like, I don't know what I'm looking at, but
he's not
if
getting.
you can get him that late,
T.
that's
Higgins
a
and Jamar
lock.
Chase.
I don't know.
I see him at 16 too. And at 16, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
If he was going at 25, that would be a problem. But 16, I think is fair. Because
anyway, Thielen, nothing changed. Thielen finished as wide receiver 10 last year, and nothing changed for him. Nothing. Like, if anything, like more coverage will roll over to Justin Jefferson. Maybe Justin Jefferson gets more targets, but like you can pretty safely slot in Adam Thielen as like pretty good value, I think. So anyway, that's if he's there like at 25, absolutely, that's my thing. If the underdog ADP is to be trusted, which maybe it won't be, but if you can get him like after Cup. Like, go for Thielen. Yeah. If it's like a decision between some of those other guys. Because think of Thielen as like a borderline top 10 type of guy.
Okay. Do you want to know a guy that I am a little bit worried about, though?
Yes.
Cooper Kupp.
That's not the NFC North. This is the NFC West.
Oh my! Why am I doing this again?
I don't know.
We're looking at the Vikings. The
Bears.
I keep looking. Yes, I know.
Lions,
and I
Packers.
look at the Vikings. I looked at the Vikings, and I was like, "Yep, Cooper Kupp plays for the Vikings." And I'm like, "No,
nope.
But not at all, not at all." Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to retire. I think
different white guy. That's like Adam Thielen.
Different white guy.
Different white guy.
No, I mean, I think some guys on the Bears are a little bit concerning. Just again, I talked about the rookie quarterbacks earlier. I'm gonna go back to Justin Fields. Like, I don't know. First of all, he's not playing the first 3 games. I refuse to believe he plays the first 3 games because you don't start him against the Rams; he would die. And then you don't want to throw him into a shootout with the Browns, and then obviously you're not going to throw him like in the in-between game against the Bengals. So he starts week 4. And then you're just hoping that he lights things up right. Kind of the same thing with Trey Lance. It's just like, yeah, you can take him, and then you get a guy like Matt Ryan, and then it's like, hopefully Justin Fields is awesome, and you can start him. But like, are you going to take Justin Fields above Matt Ryan? I wouldn't, but maybe you guys would.
No, I just think Justin Fields. What's his ADP among quarterbacks? Like 17.
Was like
that's just like a pot shot on a backup. I can't be mad at that.
I guess, but it's like
he's got rushing upside.
He has rushing upside.
He's been taking off left and right in the preseason.
Yeah, so I mean,
he's also been taking hits left and right.
Unless even if you're in a league like, I'm sorry, like I don't hate it at 17. I think that's fun.
Yeah,
I guess it's fun.
I would say that potentially Allen Robinson is a guy that disappoints just because rookie quarterbacks typically do not light it up. They don't. And even a good rookie quarterback and a guy that you're excited about typically does not have, like Justin Herbert last year, amazing rookie season, top 10 rookie season of the modern era, definitely. And Keenan Allen took a little bit of a hit in production, went from wide receiver 6 to wide receiver 15. I think that like Allen Robinson, just like it's scary to target like the outside edges of the field. It's scary out there. Like the little checkdowns are more safe, and I feel like that's where rookies tend to cling to, and that's why I kind of like Cole Kmet as a sleeper. Like if we're going like deep, I think Cole Kmet might be a guy that like is a kind of a security blanket for Fields, especially the way he's been targeting Jesse James this preseason. Anyway.
Let me ask you something about Allen Robinson, Theo. Yeah. Do you think that Justin Fields, let's say Justin Fields plays 9-10 games. Do you think he is better through 9 or 10 games than Mitchell Trubisky was through 9 games last year?
Yes, because Mitchell Trubisky sucks.
Okay. Yes. And Allen Robinson finished where in fantasy last year?
Probably like wide receiver. Oh, what did I have him at? I think that Fields can be better and Allen Robinson not. I don't know. Allen Robinson, rookie quarterbacks, drafting their wide receivers scares me a little bit. Like drafting guys that they need to target down the field scares me a little bit. Because like Tyler Boyd with Burrow, he fell off. Devontae Parker with Tua,
Allen Robinson was wide receiver 41 last year, I think.
That can't be true.
No, that's 28. That's 2018.
Yes.
Allen Robinson was 12th
Yes, and he's had double-digit touchdowns once. I just don't know if it happens with
Mitchell Trubisky.
I don't know. Rookie quarter. It's just a thing. It's a thing. Like I don't have the numbers in front of me. It's a thing.
I mean, even Baker Mayfield with Odell, like it was.
Young quarterbacks do not typically produce elite wide receiver production. It happened with Keenan Allen last year. Better quarterback, worse production for the wide receiver. I just think that it takes a little bit to get that go to. I don't know, but it does scare me a little bit. Who do you think
he's going to go to? If
just a
Komet, rush it himself, just David Montgomery, Jimmy Graham, like little shorter things. Tariq Cohen, I don't know. I just think that wide receivers are scary to throw to for young guys, like airing it out down the field. It's scary.
One guy who's, I guess, not that big of a sleeper, but Kirk Cousins his ADP is 20 right now among quarterbacks. He has not finished below that, where he's finished above that every year since 2014. I don't know. That offense should be good too. I don't think that's bad. Last year he was quarterback.
It's kind of the same thing with Matt Ryan.
He's just undervalued. Like he's probably going to be a borderline quarterback one type deal again. And even if he's not, you're drafting him as like one of the lowest drafted backups. So that'd be somebody I'd look at. You could also look at TJ Hawkinson. We already talked about him, but
I didn't want to bring up Hawkinson because I always talk about Hawkinson.
And then who else? We haven't talked about AJ Dillon yet. Love him as a runner. Super strong. I think he's in line for close to 150 carries. So that's another guy who I would say has some nice upside for where he's getting drafted.
Where is Aaron Rodgers being drafted?
Probably about 8.
Like quarterback 8. He's like the one before Tom Brady.
He's quarterback 7.
Yeah, that's about fair.
And he's probably a lock for that.
Yeah,
for being totally honest,
right?
It's like him and Brady are probably like I don't want to say low level starters, but like because that sounds awful.
Let's get out of it. Let's get out because all we're telling people now is like, guys, Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
Did you guys know that good players are going to be good?
I don't know. I feel good. I don't have a ton of letdowns. To be completely honest.
I feel pretty good about I would say if we're looking for some sleepers just to spice things up, I think Brashad Perryman is a sleeper with where he's getting drafted. I think he's a potential wide receiver 1 on that team, and he's like nowhere near.
I thought you meant fantasy wide receiver 1.
No. Like on the Lions, but like a wide receiver 1 on the Lions can be like a wide receiver. Like you can throw him in a starting lineup in fantasy and be all right. I think he's slept on a little bit. AJ Dillon is screaming. Like if Aaron Jones goes down, AJ Dillon might be a top 10 running back in the entire league. He really might. I love AJ Dillon. And he's like, Aaron Jones is someone where I was like screaming at Mike McCarthy to give like Jones more touches because Jones was clearly that talented. I feel the same way about AJ Dillon. Like that guy, if Jones were to go down, we would see no drop off and maybe even a little bit of a improvement because AJ Dillon is a beast. And he is a potential league winner. And if you're getting into backups, you stash him and you've got if Aaron Jones goes down, you've got a guy that is, like an extra running back 1, in my opinion. So there's him. Komet, I like as a security blanket for Fields.
He's talented.
Yeah. Irv Smith, another tight end.
Yeah.
I think that he's getting drafted like pretty low.
He's such a nice play. You can get him as your backup tight end, like last couple of rounds, and then he's all upside. You don't have to draft him as your number 1.
Yeah, and the Vikings sorely need a third receiving option. There's Jefferson and Thielen, obviously, and then there's a big void, black hole that Irv Smith could do a nice job filling. So there's a lot of sleepers in the NFC North. I know you love David Montgomery, Matt. We talked a lot about him.
My big sleeper is Tyrell Williams.
Yeah, I like kind of the same logic as Perryman is like one of those.
Somebody will come out as wide receiver 1 there.
I feel like he's just get like a lot of touchdowns. It's not. I don't even know if it'll be a yards thing. It'll just be like red zone.
But yeah, looking at the division, as far as letdowns go, I'm not really seeing all that much because everyone is just kind of set in their ways. Like maybe Allen Robinson isn't quite that guy with a rookie quarterback throwing.
Someone will get hurt.
Someone will get hurt.
That'll be real disappointing.
Don't draft the guy who gets hurt. But I don't know. As I look through the NFC North, I'm not.
Also, if you're looking to draft someone from the NFC North, don't draft someone from the NFC West.
Don't draft someone from the different division. I would
You're
say
gonna be
maybe,
it's going to be a real letdown if you thought you drafted an NFC North player.
Maybe I could argue Aaron.
I'm gonna get.
I can
so
maybe
much
argue Aaron Jones as being a little bit
Twitter.
overvalued because I think AJ Dillon is that good, and I think he might cut into those carries like a substantial
But it's like,
amount.
yeah, I see that. But do they just pay him to like just make him a running back by committee?
No, they don't.
Right.
But maybe, I don't know. That's the only thing where I kind of wrote him down. But that was more of a vote of confidence for AJ Dillon more than Aaron Jones is bad.
Yep.
So I like AJ Dillon.
Fair.
But as far as busts or letdowns go, there's no one that I don't want to force anything that I don't believe. So I don't really see any in the NFC North besides maybe Robinson.
Yeah, kind of the same thing for me with Fields, is I just don't know how much I want to lean on a rookie quarterback to succeed right away, especially, kind of that mid-level backup. I don't know how much I like that. But I think that kind of wraps things up for us today. As always, a ton of content coming your way. So glad you guys... I know everyone's happy they got a bonus episode because I always have people are like, we need more episodes. We need longer episodes. Like, I listened to this during my workout and it's not long enough. So I know everyone's going to be super happy about that. Stay tuned for the AFC locks and letdowns next episode. NFL preseason continues to go on, right? We're getting so close to week 1. Don't miss out on all the great content coming your way on all platforms. And as always, from the Stay Hot squad of Matthew Sponhour, Theo Ash, and Blaiden Kirk, the best dressed podcast in the world, we'll catch you on the flippity flop.